wena drive.
Dumelang, sanibonani molweni mzansi. Welcome to Transit Ringas. Today we are diving into a pressing topic, scholar transport. I'm your host, Isaac Lesole, the guy who is not afraid. We're going to talk about it all. And I'm going to invite you to please join us and deal with the issues that are affecting you, affecting your state of mind, affecting your children, and deal with real issues and talk about what exactly is happening so that at least you get a better understanding of what it is. So there's the first thing that I want us to do. How do you feel when your child leaves your home in the morning? How do you feel when your child gets into a vehicle or a minibus that is supposed to take the child to school and you have no idea of what's going on? But let me tell you this. The truth is that public transport, in particular scholar transport in South Africa, has got serious issues. They've got serious issues, and you know this. You know that we're sitting with a situation where the vehicles are not roadworthy. You know that. You know that we're sitting with a situation where even the driver might not even be permitted to be transporting your child. So the big question is, how does your scholar transport driver behave when you're not around? You know that the only time when people modify, or motorists or drivers modify their behavior, is when they are being monitored. What do you think happens when you're not there? What do you think happens when there are no police or cameras or anything around? What do you think happens in terms of the behavior of the driver? I want to deal with something very important and sort of introduce you to the universe of scholar transport. So there are facts that I want to share with you. Did you know that there's 2.5 million learners that are relying on public transport, on scholar transport every day? Did you know that? And so there's 2.5 million of those that are recorded. There's a substantial number of those that are using private transport or private scholar transport. The vehicles are not on the radar. Some of the vehicles are not even roadworthy. You know it, right? But this is something very disturbing that I want to share with you, and I want to take this discussion somewhere. Over 1.4 or 1,400 children are injured in transport-related accidents each year. Now, 1,400 school kids injured, dying in scholar transport or transport-related accidents. And 90% of all of this, they happen because of the driver. So 90%, we call it human error. So this could be speed, this could be fatigue, this could be distraction, driver on the phone while you're driving the kids, busy on the phone, and they get distracted and they cause accidents. But generally, recklessness. But let's not pretend we don't know that one of the biggest problems is that they are unroadworthy vehicles. And unroadworthy vehicles that are transporting your children, and more often than not, in fact, 90% of the cases, they are overloaded. And your child is part of that. And you, as a parent, you trust somebody you don't know with the life of your child. Maybe the question is going to be, but Isaac, what do you say we should do? Because my child, if it's not because of this transport, I have applied with the Department of Education, we're not getting help. So private scholar transport system is what I rely on. Fact. This episode is not about stopping to use public transport or stopping to use scholar transport. This episode is about what can we do to make sure that it becomes safer. That's what this conversation is. This conversation is about, we are about to ask a question, but also encourage you as a parent to do something about it, because contrary to what we all believed, we always thought that we don't have, the power, we can't change the status quo. No. We have the power, and we can make changes. The mistake of not thinking about what we need to do causes a lot of problems. We will end up like post office. Post office, like, it's like they didn't even think that technology would be the order of the day. Like they wouldn't even think that there would be emails at some point. There'll be WhatsApp. So the whole business model is collapsing because you did not evolve with the time. We cannot allow that. And this is the same problem that we have with public transport in South Africa. Public transport is not evolving with technology. And that's why when there are changes, when there are new technological developments, we see war, because we have not prepared for these kind of changes. So we are taking away a few things. And I'm going to ask you, while we're talking about this, while you're watching this, give us some comments. What are your experiences, your personal experience with scholar transport? Tell us what you've gone through. Tell us what your child told you, because there are horror stories. But because those that are relying on public transport are often seen to be, I can Uber my child to school, I can do this. So we are at the end of the pyramid. So we down there, we are just happy when the child gets to school, and we pray to God that if the child so our only relationship with this is prayer and hope. And I'm saying that today we can change that situation. I'm charging you as a parent today to stop hoping and taking an action of making sure that you can monitor and participate and be part of a community that monitors public transport, a community that monitors scholar transport for the safety of your child. So this is a very big responsibility that that you and I have from today. So if you get nothing out of this episode, the one thing you need to check and find is, what can you do to be part of a community that monitors and talks about scholar transport every day? Because if it's not your child, it's definitely your neighbor's child. If it's not your neighbor's child, it's your relative's child. And it can no longer be allowed that kids jump into these vehicles. They are smelly, they are unroadworthy, drivers are not permitted to drive, some in fact, and sometimes we make a mistake of making it look like everyone is not complying. No, that's not what we say. We know that there are unroadworthy vehicles, but on the other side, there are also those that are complying with the rules. So it is a joint responsibility to say, what is it that we really can do? And remember, and this is something that is very, very interesting that I want to chat to you guys about. In the Eastern Cape, and I'm raising Eastern Cape in particular, and parts of the Free State, where kids, scholars, are being driven by bakkies. You know that's the same situation where kids died in Mpumalanga, crossing the rail line with a bakkie, van. And this, in some instances, the vanity, it's the only mode of transport that kids use to go to school. Kids are dying. And I think it is important that we bring this information together. We aggregate your experiences so that we can talk to the departments of transport and departments of education to say, how do we really deal with it? And in all fairness, we know that the scholar transport issue, Department of Education has been dealing with this matter for some time. But the Department of Education, and I'll challenge them today, that they still don't know exactly what's going on there. The vehicles that are driving our kids, the breakdown levels, they break down every day. Kids are late every day. Some don't even show up. So scholar transport is a very important issue. And we're going to have to stop being complacent about it as the country. But before we talk about the country, we must talk about you as a parent. You as a person who is paying someone to transport your child. And yes, we must understand that there are a number of challenges, and because of who we are and the economic conditions, we know that sometimes you as a parent, you don't pay on time. We know that the driver is going to say that, how do I get the vehicle up to date, maintained, and all of that, because parents are not paying. It is not an excuse. Your financial situation is not an excuse for the child to be transported safely in a roadworthy vehicle. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. Your ability to pay or not to pay does not give any driver the right to drive your child without a permit. So let's get it right. With this episode, let's appreciate that there are drivers that are going to be removed from the roads. There are vehicles that are going to be removed from our roads because they don't deserve to be there. So, and this is what the difference with Transit Ringas is. We're not just having a conversation. Once we identify a problem, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that the authorities know about the situation. If a vehicle is not roadworthy, it will not see another day on our road. It will not see another day with our kids. But how do we get to know this? If you, as the parent, don't communicate. So the question is, how do you even communicate? Isaac, we have horror stories. Somebody told me that I have stories about scholar transport, but who cares? Who's listening? Where can I report? What authority does the person who I'm reporting to has or have to do anything about this situation? No. That's an excuse. Now you know. There's Transit Ringas. Across all our social media platforms, you're going to find a link. And that link that leads you everywhere. And that link is going to enable you to go into a special engine or platform where you can talk to us about what exactly your experience is. So there are two platforms where you can talk to us. It's on that specific anonymous and discreet platform where you talk to us about your experience, and you can lay a formal complaint with a little bit of details. We're going to go through what that platform looks like and what else can you get on that platform. But nothing stops you from talking to us on all social media platforms and just have a conversation, because your stories are going to tell us what else are we supposed to talk about. But please do not be quiet. Don't be complacent anymore. There's a parent who said, I have complained, I've spoken to different people about it, but the situation remains the same. The reason the situation remained the same is because you were talking to human beings. And sometimes human beings are afraid to do something because they are afraid of being identified, victimized, and being targeted. Now we are doing something completely different. We are going to use your smartphone to talk to us, whether on the social media platforms or specifically about your matter. So it is important that you follow us so that you can have access to our link at all times, because this link is going to enable you as a parent, to say something about your child's transportation every day. And it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in urban areas, you can be in Soweto, you can be in Henneman, somewhere where I come from, in the rural areas, in Lusukisiki, somewhere in the Eastern Cape. It cannot be normal that we are quiet and we feel like everything, these people can get away with this matter. It can't be. South Africa, our vehicles are overcrowded. They're old. The drivers are driving very badly. Some of them are not even trained. And I've said these things, I'm repeating them deliberately because I want us to get it in our minds. Because these things have become a habit. That's how they drive. Driving has become a very bad habit. So as we move towards the actual closure of this, 2.5 million kids relying on scholar transport, those that government knows of, is not the real number, because thousands of other kids or scholars are on private school. And that's where the biggest problem is. And I'm not saying for a second that those that are used by government are better. I mean, we've seen the buses that were stuck on the side of the roads and all of that. Now there's a new brother in the house. There's a new sheriff in town called Transit Guard. Transit Guard is now your brother and friend that you're now going to have to rely on. Because in due time, we are going to monitor the driver behavior, the health of the vehicle using Transit Guard. Because Transit Guard, you're going to use it in both the scholar transport and your normal daily traveling. And the reason why this is important is because we want to hold people accountable. We want to hold the drivers accountable. We want to hold the operators accountable. Because all of these things that are happening, somebody knows. Somebody consciously allows a vehicle that's not roadworthy to be on the road. Somebody consciously knowing that the vehicle is not maintained, they allow that vehicle to go in with tires that are worn out. They allow that. So they make a conscious decision. But the question is, what happens when my child gets injured or your child dies? In actual fact, this is premeditated murder. It's not culpable. The car was unroadworthy and you knew. And you know that for your car to be on the road must be roadworthy. You know that for you to transport passengers, you must have a permit. If you consciously make the decision to take that vehicle that's not roadworthy on the road, you don't have the permit. You have the desire and intention to commit crime. It's not an accident. It's premeditated. Because because some of you, the drivers out there, they depend on just knowing that if anybody stops me, I will give them imali, a cold drink. So there are people who are running the business just on the foundation that the police are corrupt, the traffic cops who will take money from me. So The traffic cops and the police have made this possible. That's why a person, a driver, an owner of the vehicle is able to allow the vehicles to go out there and be on the road, because we bribe our way on everything. When the car is impounded, you know that you have some connection there where you will go get a traffic officer to go and connect you, get your car out. That time is over, because all of these things that are happening, they are happening because somebody has consciously allowed them to happen. So we are now going to collaborate. We are now going to work together and identify them. Soon, we'll have the whole scholar transport population, because we are going to test them against the e-natives. I'll put my head on the block and say there are vehicles that are not even on the population register. There are vehicles that are not even known, let alone, look, in South Africa, we have about almost 13 million vehicles all throughout the country. And guess what? Almost 6 million of these vehicles are in Gauteng. Now with that amount of vehicle population, it means that there are so many people that are on the road every day. But let me break it to you that there are cars, there are minibus taxis that are not even in the population register, that are not in the e-native system, and they are driving your child. They're driving us, Kokasi. The vehicles that are moving around, driving our kids, dropping them around the corner at the school, they're not roadworthy. They're not even recognized as vehicles, let alone the drivers. So our kids are being driven consciously by people who know that they could die one day. I'm going to ask today, you've listened to this episode. It's a very emotive episode. And that's why you don't see the excitement as we should, because it scares me. It scares me that as parents, we have allowed this to continue for this long. It scares me that the traffic officers live their lives. So every day when they go out, they know that they can only rely on the monies that are coming, cold drink money for lunch, for this, for that. And every car that pays, let me tell you, every car that pays or every driver that pays, there's something wrong with either the car or the driver. No question about it. No question about it. So every time when a 20 rand, 100 rand is exchanged, somebody is at risk. And more often than not, it is the passenger. It's not going to happen with our children. And please make a conscious decision that your child is not going to be a statistic. Your child is going to be saved, and it's going to be saved by you. You are going to be that parent who's going to stand up and say, what should I do? I am not going to keep quiet anymore. So this is Transit Guard. Share this episode or any of our material with everyone who's on road transportation. Whether it's a bus, it's a taxi, it doesn't matter. Let everyone who's relying on public transport know about this. But let's also make sure that all communities, scholar transport groups get this information, because no parent should only be reliant on some hope and faith. We all pray. I'm the first one to raise my hand and say that I pray every day, because I'm a strong believer in God. But some of these things that we allow, we are testing God. We are testing God with things that we are supposed to be solving. But this decision we can make today. And I beg that make this decision today. Let your child not be another one. Let your child be another one. And you can make this decision right now. Follow us and tell us what your experience is. And then we can talk about how do we move forward. But from now onwards, please continue to follow us, share all our content with other people, but join the movement. Join the movement, because together we can make a journey very, very safe and we can make it safe for our children. Don't be complacent. Your time is now. I'm out. God bless. Till we meet again in the next episode.
Yo, en het rijmt.